I'm super excited to be here. And when I think about the opportunity ahead and the trends existing today in commerce media, really it's endless. Being close to the end consumer, focusing on making that journey for the consumer easy, seamless. The amount of technology that is being invested in using a huge breadth of data is really powerful. And obviously, advertising and talking to the end consumer has existed for a long time. Flywheel in particular works very closely with sophisticated brand marketers in this space. And brand marketing and trying to understand that end consumer and speak to them, really came about in the 70s. And so when you think about commerce media and being able to talk to your consumer exactly where they are, on a site, ready to purchase, trying to convert them and focusing on the performance opportunities within that space, it's a particularly exciting role to be in right now. The ability to drive data across a full funnel of attribution and understand the dollars that you are investing into this space, how they increase sales, the opportunity to increase share, and then actually use the performance that those vehicles are driving back into the additional sales is really amazing. And so, these are absolutely advertising tactics that are a full flywheel effect. You can invest in them, and that virtuous cycle is particularly exciting for me.
Now, you work with sophisticated brands. In talking to them about the opportunities in commerce media, what kinds of topics come up? Is there any part where you have to educate people on what's happening?
It's a great question. The education component in this space is really important. No longer are brands just spending dollars on more traditional advertising vehicles like TV spots or a circular or a magazine ad. When it comes to commerce media, understanding the ins and outs of the retailer really matters, and the capabilities of that retailer matter as well. So suddenly you're having to link how a consumer interacts with your product on an endless aisle in a different and unique way. And so components of the imagery and creative and content on that page matter hugely. Thinking about supply chain and logistics and how that influences and impacts your media strategy. Suddenly, all of the different components that a sophisticated brand might be investing in, from logistics all the way through shopper marketing to those end upper funnel brand awareness metrics, this space is really pulling all of that together and creating sort of a closed loop of opportunity. So it's exciting, but it also requires quite a bit of education to train traditional marketers on, how to think about parcel shipment versus last mile versus, pick up online, and how consumers are thinking about parcel shipment versus last mile versus order online and pick up in store. Suddenly, marketers are having to be experts at each individual retailer. And so a lot of the work that my team does when we think about domain expertise and the investment that we make in technology and product is putting those pieces together to tell that story. And a lot of that, again, is using the data. So how your out of stock rate is going to drive your decision making in, do I want to invest in this product? Do I have the stock? Where is the container today? I think everyone is talking a lot more about a supply chain than maybe we had done in the past. And understanding the ins and outs of how retail behavior, promotion strategies influence media, linking your search advertising into every other component of performance marketing is hugely available today because of data sets, but there is so much data that it really requires distilling it, simplifying it, and understanding what action to take from it.
Now, we've talked a bit about how brands and marketers should think about commerce media. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the other side of the transaction, the consumer, and the importance of the consumer experience in commerce media. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes. So The world that we're in today, I think, is so exciting because we're finally using data to truly understand what the consumer desires, what they want to interact with. And these advertising vehicles are actually a helping hand to allow them to find what they're looking for when they're on that sales journey. And so brand marketing used to look a lot at, the first moment of truth, and the thought was really, if I have mental availability, if I just get my product in front of consumer eyes consistently, they'll eventually, find that way to purchase. But today with commerce media, there's so much around personalization and really thinking about the consumer behavior based on their buying patterns versus their demographics. And so, if I'm a consumer that loves, Blu-ray sci-fi, I love that there's personalization that allows me to find the right selection, new opportunities, build my basket in ways that I might not have necessarily thought of, but that are very helpful. So that dynamic of automation and personalization is really exciting to the consumer. But it's also something that the advertiser, the brand marketer has to be really careful and thoughtful about, and making sure that there is relevancy and sort of structure to when and how you're showing, certain advertising vehicles to that end consumer. And that's, it's what I love about working with the Criteo team, and the breadth of retailers that they support. It really allows us to create, custom technology with their team to make sure that we're serving the right items to the consumer at the right time. And that's valuable for the consumer and their shopping experience. And it's also value for the brand because it really allows a very efficient utilization of advertising dollars and reduces waste. So it's very much this closed loop environment where everyone is a winner. Consumers can still make those decisions, and their shopping behavior, what they click on, how they think about things, then sort of it's a virtuous cycle back into the advertiser, knowing what's working and what's not, and being thoughtful on how they're showing them opportunities.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, you'll be attending the Cannes Lion Festival coming up soon. Curious to hear what your expectations are, what you see going into it, what you hope to get out of it, what kinds of things you expect to see, especially in commerce media, but I don't know, maybe there's other things you're interested in seeing too.
Yeah, so I will admit that I'm a nerd at heart, and I've been to Cannes a couple of years, and I was dazzled by the creativity and the role of advertising first and foremost when it comes to sort of creating that brand feel. I think is super exciting, and absolutely I'm looking forward to just seeing that vibrancy of having people back together and that creative feel. But I think what's most exciting for me in the nerd camp this year is how many technology retailers and technology companies are going to have major presence. It really speaks to what's changing in the advertising world today. The amounts of data that exist, thinking about how influencers impact the overarching strategy. Advertising is no longer just a game of that overarching, high level brand awareness. But I think Cannes this year is very much going to be discussions around technology and how all of these different components of investment into a brand come together, telling that story across many, many different data sets. And I'm super excited to see what some of the new capabilities are, using that data in real time. And I think that there's going to be much more manufacturer and brand participation this year as they continue to innovate on behalf of their end consumer.